guys, what is this? It's time for my Contemporaryathon Wrap Up. Alright, Contemporaryathon, if you've been keeping up, which you probably have if you're watching this wrap up or kept up with it somewhat, is a readathon that is co-hosted by Julie Darling Reed, Pages and Pens, and My Reading is Odd. It is a contemporary themed readathon. I should probably show you the prompts. It had 7 prompts, and the goal was just to meet, the prompts. You could read one book for each goal challenge, or you could take one book to complete all the challenges if you want to use that creative. So let's see how I did. The challenges, first off, were to read a contemporary with orange on the cover, read a dark or spooky or taboo contemporary, read a diverse contemporary, read a contemporary in a non-traditional format, read a contemporary that has your initials on the cover, read a contemporary from a new to you author, and read a contemporary that is a 5-star prediction. Now, I did have one book for each of these. It didn't quite work out that way. So, first off, first book I read was The Wedding Date. I had this one on Audible, so it fulfilled challenge number 4, which is to read a contemporary in a non-traditional format. I listened to it on Audible, thus didn't read it in non-traditional format. This one is about, I forgot their names already. This one is about Alexa Monroe, who met Drew Nichols in an elevator when she was on her way up to see her sister, and the elevator in the hotel stopped, locking them together for a length of time over which they flirted. They shared cheese and, did they drink champagne? I think, nope, shared cheese and crackers that were to celebrate for her sister. And by the end of it, Drew ended up asking Alexa to be his date to his ex's wedding. It was a really cute story. The narrator, I loved her voice. It was awesome. It fit with the theme. Now this is about an interracial relationship, so it also fit the read a diverse book, which was challenge, where'd it go? Which is challenge number 3, which is to read a diverse contemporary, so I fulfilled that one too. And if I want to be fancy, it also fulfilled challenge number 5, which is to read a contemporary with your initials on the cover. So already I've knocked out 3 with just this one book. Now, I really actually enjoyed this book, but I did have some complaints. The main one being the lack of communication between the two. For these to be 2 fairly successful people, with her being basically the attaché to a mayor, I think, in a major city, and with him being a pediatrician, you would think they would be a little better at communicating. They are total shit at it, the both of them, which is weird because both of their jobs actually deal with, like, being a pretty good communicator. But no, they just didn't talk to each other. There was a lot of like, I think this, but I'm not going to say it. I don't want to tell him such and such. I don't want to tell her such and such. And then Drew was really just kind of had his he was gripped onto this idea of being a bachelor. And even though he was basically flying out of town to see this woman every weekend, or flying her to see him, or vice versa, he just still was like, no, we're not in a relationship. Yeah, I'm totally going to go fly 2-hour flight to see her next weekend and the weekend after that, but no, we're not together. It's not that kind of thing. I am falling in love with her, and I'm spending a lot of time with her and doing things with her I did with no other woman I ever dated, but no, we're totally not in a relationship. And he just would not let that go, to the point of like, it's past just like initial stubbornness. You just being pig-headed at this point, bro. Like, it's getting kind of fucking ridiculous. He was, though, totally sweet with her, which I liked, despite the fact that he had this internal like frat boy monologue, like, I'm single, I don't do relationships, I'm just kind of like a love him and leave him when this relationship is running its course, I'm a peace out. He also brought her around a lot of his friends who he had previously dated, which didn't help with her mindset, which was also a little bit childish, and like she just refused to communicate or ask him flat out, yo, what is it? She just made assumptions and didn't want to talk to the man. So that the miscommunication trope thing is right up there with the like eavesdropped and misunderstood and then didn't communicate thing with me. Those that they right up under love triangles. No likey. What I did like about it though, besides the way they communicated with each other and the number of like inside jokes and stuff that they had, was the little nuances that you don't see a lot of when reading about interracial couples, especially in this day and age with the political climate the way it is. There are some difficulties and nuances and stuff that really needs to be discussed in an interracial relationship, especially if it's the first person's other, you know, the other person's first time dating outside of their race. There's some things, you know, like, hey, you may or may not need to be checked on your privilege, one, and two, you need to know, like, this is what you're in for, and these are the kind of things I have to deal with as a person of color, and you not being a person of color. So that I liked, because those conversations were had, and then Drew was actually really open to, you know, understanding and listening to that, like, oh, you're right, I never even thought of that, I've never had to deal with it, like, oh shit, kind of a thing. One thing though that did bug me was that all of the romance scenes were fade to black, and not even like smooth fade to black. It was just like hard, just flat out fade to black, and then jerked you to another scene, and there was no smooth transition. It was really weird. Anywho, all that being said, I did like the story so much that it's still 4 out of 5 stars for me, and overall pretty strong start to Contemporaryathon. Last thing I will say about this book too is that Drew's best friend Carlos did a lot of like bruh checking in this. He did a lot of like, Drew, you being stupid, you know you're gonna be with this woman, like, just admit it. Why are y'all miscommunicating? Why are y'all not communicating? Talk to her, dumbass. Is how a relationship between adults works. So that being said, since Carlos was like the brains of the operation, more or less, when somebody had their head up their own ass, he is in The Proposal, which is the second book to this, which I got as an ARC, which I was super stoked to read, and I read it to meet the Read a Contemporary that is a 5-star prediction challenge, which is challenge number 7. It can also fill the diversity challenge, and it can also fulfill read a book with your initials on the cover challenge. It can also fulfill the I think it was to fulfill the new to you author challenge, the proposal or the wedding date. So still doing good. Anywho, this one I was really not all that impressed with. So like, it seemed like it was written by a totally different author. There was still, okay, The Proposal, which is not out yet, comes out October 30th. In this one, it's about Carlos, Drew's best friend, who was the voice of reason in the wedding date. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be way better because we're not going to have this miscommunication bullshit. But it's like Carlos turned into Drew and was doing the same fuckboy shit on the low. Like, that whole, like, we not really in a relationship, I don't do relationships, I'm gonna treat you completely like a girlfriend, but no, you're not my girlfriend kind of a thing. He was also like a little bit objectifying of her and her figure in certain scenes, and then there was, of course, those scenes, the fade to black, odd, weird, disjointed. But on top of that, guess I should tell you what the book is about. So in The Proposal, Carlos and his sister are at this baseball game, and they happen to witness this woman, Nicole, sitting with her boyfriend of 5 months, who is not even paying attention to her during the whole game because he's there with his friends. And then he decides, like, he sets it up to propose to her at the baseball game over the Jumbotron, and she's just like, whoa, time out, bro, what the fuck? Not only that, but you spelled my name wrong on the Jumbotron. Like, you don't even clearly know me that well, you're proposing. So obviously she said no, but everybody was watching, and it didn't go well. So Carlos stepped in to kind of save her, so to speak, and get her away from the situation before it turned worse. That being said, I already told you how Carlos is with her, but Nicole, in and of herself, is just exceedingly corny. Exceedingly corny. Like, her and her friends are very, very cliche. They make a lot of like cliche cracks and jokes that aren't funny, and they say little quips that might make your friend chuckle or smile or roll their eyes at you playfully, but they were like constantly laughing at each other to the point where it was almost like a laugh track playing in my head of like robotic laughter, because the shit was not fucking funny. And the characters just didn't click for me. All of them were dull. There was no chemistry. There was no like organicness about the group. It was just like, I need you to fulfill this role, you fulfill this role, you fulfill this role. So they looked like a diverse cast of characters, but inside they were all the same fucking character telling the same weird plain jokes to me. So I didn't like her or her group of friends. Their interactions were all corny. Her interactions with Carlos were equally corny. Carlos's interactions with his sister were corny. And it was just like, the same person could not have written this. If it wasn't for the weird fade to black scenes and the like cultural nuances that were mentioned, but in this one they came off as a little bit stereotypical. Like, I kind of got tired of like the whole like, my white friends don't like spicy food and blah blah blah. Like, can we not be like, I know we are playing up the differences for the purpose of the book so people are aware that these kind of nuances go into an interracial relationship, but to like every little bit of it was stereotyped. Like, oh, it's a black person, she likes spicy food too. My white friend don't like spicy food. Like, when it was like new and you appreciated little nuances being brought up, and they were in the like overshadowed by bigger actual like possibly problematic nuances when you're dating people from other races and cultures. In this one, it was just all it just came off really stereotypy, and it was a lot, and I just was not feeling it. I think I gave it like 2 stars because it was just like it was a struggle and not a good one. I suffered through that book, guys. I suffered. So disappointed. So then I went on to read Kiss the Girl by Tara Civic. Kiss the Girl is a modern day contemporary Little Mermaid retelling. Now, it is part of the Naughty Princess Club #3, but I figured I didn't read the first 2. I just figured it's just the name of the trilogy because they're like smutty contemporary retellings. No, the Naughty Princess Club is the business that the women all set up, where they are like sing to your house type strippers or something of that nature. Okay, whatever, fine. We still got potential here. It's okay. But in this one, the main character who played Ariel, fucking hell. Now, if you watch my TBR, I told you how excited I was for this book and why. Because there were a lot of like tie-ins from the original and from like the Disney. Like Ariel, so to speak, lost her voice and her divorce from her husband, and she was basically like downtrodden. And was her name Ariel Waters, and the Eric that she met was Eric Saylor, and it was just a lot of little tiny nuances, like especially in the summary that mentioned, you know, she was drowning in such and such in debt, and she lost her voice, and blah 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 blah. So it sounded really good, and I was like, all right, I'm so into this, and I read it and was like, what in the motherfuck is that? What? Just train wreck of epic fucking proportions. It was bad. Like, go to my Twitter page and scroll back and see me bitching about it. It was bad. Like, the main character was obnoxious. It looked almost like, if you've ever read fanfiction and you remember crackfic fanfiction, which is basically like fanfiction that is just obnoxious, over the top, crazy. It's like, think of the most dramatic telenovela you've ever seen and then ram it up by like 500. Think of like Shia LaBeouf and Even Stevens and ram it up by like 500. Like, think of Zack and Cody and ramp it up by like 500, only it's adults that are acting like this, and they're just like completely overacting, over screaming, overdoing everything, but it's not a kid show, so it's not cute. It's really fucking annoying, and you're acting weird, and I think you should be on medication type. And that was the first interaction with her. As it opens up, Ariel is interviewing a woman to be her roommate, and her friend Ella, Cinderella, whoever the Cinderella character is supposed to be, who is, you know, quite mousy and quiet from that interaction that I can tell, calls her, and she's like, what the fuck are you calling me for? You know I don't like to talk on the phone. If you don't hang up the phone and text me like a normal fucking person, I'm gonna slit your throat. What's wrong with you? And not only is that like crazy, like ridiculously over the top, but she's serious, which makes it even more over the top and insane. But you're doing this in front of a person you're going to interview, and then she's talking to the girl still on the phone. She's like, don't worry, my roommate's not crazy enough to try anything. I'll kill her in her sleep or something, just whatever. She like threatened the woman. And then like the odd part of it, like this is not weird enough, was that she would, if you've ever read like fan fiction or like badly written stories where people are like thinking about whatever internal struggle they're having, and then someone distracts them and they just like scream at them, like scream in their face, some shit's totally irrelevant to the conversation that's going on because their mind's somewhere else. So her roommate was like, well, do you have any more questions for me then, if you're not ready? Because I can go. She's like, I'm fine. Like, it got so crazy. And then there's a scene later on, because I was like, maybe I'll give it another chance. There's a scene later on where all of Ariel's stuff, because if you remember, like, Ariel from the Disney movie had collected a lot of stuff. This Ariel collected antiques, so she's got a lot of stuff, but because of her ex-husband and her bills and so on, her stuff gets taken up or repossessed, or however it's I can't think of what it's called at the moment, but, you know, when you go into bankruptcy, more or less, and they come and take your stuff and evaluate it, blah, 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 they're doing that. Not only did she ignore the notices and pretended like they had no right to do it, even though it was a legal thing, she just ignored them, pretended it would go away, which is very adult. I'm not going to pay my light bill. They'll never shut my lights off if I don't open the bill and see that I haven't paid it in 6 months. Like, that makes a lot of sense. But she just was threatening the police officers, screaming like random shit at them, like Gattaca, Gattaca, Gattaca. Like, it's so fucking weird. And I could not finish it, and I'll see how anybody gave it 5 stars. And then I scrolled forward, and she never toned that shit down. She was that overboard the whole story, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? This is like Dwight from The Office if he was a serial killer and not just weird, but like deranged type weird. Like, what the fuck? What? No. I gave it 1 star. If I could give it half a star, a quarter of a star, and it counted as a rating, I would fucking do that. So, another example of her extraness, like for instance when she cussed, dicks, what'd she say? Dick shit son of a nut cockhole. I can't. That one was intended to fulfill my read a book with your initials on the cover challenge, but other books fulfill that, so I'm okay. So after those 2 fails, then I went on to read Pretty Face, which is book number 2 in the London Celebrity series. I read book 1 in Smudathon a couple months ago. So in this one, we have these actors, these stage actors in London. They have this kind of producer for this stage play who's trying to cast the play, despite a very public, very kind of embarrassing split from his ex, who of like 8 years or so left him and then married the next guy she dated after like a month or a couple of weeks or something crazy like that. So he's dealing with the trash rags and all these people in his business and etc. and trying to do this show. And he comes across this woman who would be perfect for the show, but she needs a lot of work because she kind of sounds like a damn porn star and it's not cute. So, not only is she pretty, she's younger than him. She's got this breathy Marilyn Monroe voice. She's built like a brick house. And everybody assumes, you know, she got the role because of va-va-voom type shit, right? Professional summary, I know. Work with me. He's also like a very rigid, very stern, very like work-addicted person who knows why his ex left him. Is the both of them were work-addicted and they just kind of passed each other the night all the time and they were just fine with it. They were with each other for years and were in love with each other. So, despite the fact that she's more of a like a loose type personality, she's in this TV show, which is where they found her. He already doesn't like actors because there's this stigma that comes with going from an actor, being an actor and then being a stage actor. And the stigma is that if you do TV, it's because you can't do the stage. The stage is harder. So he's kind of prejudiced against her already when she comes in. But then despite that, despite the fact that he says she sounds like a blow-up doll, they kind of start to get under each other's skin. So this one I really enjoyed. I gave it 5 stars, just like I did the first one. This one was intended to meet my, I think it was a possible for my read, a contemporary, that's a 5-star prediction, but it was in the wings until I realized a couple of my books sucked. So I picked that one up to like make me feel better because I knew it would be a good book. Then, book number 5, and lastly, I read Love in Catalina Cove. This is the first book in the Catalina Cove series by Brenda Jackson, which I'm not going to lie, I originally picked up because I thought it was the Beverly Jenkins book. I always get them, I've been getting them confused for years. I don't know why. The writing style is different, the type of books they write is different, other than the fact that they both write African American contemporary romance. Like, their style is not the same. Anyhow, this one is an arc and it comes out October 30th. So in this one we have Vashti, who is from this small town in Louisiana, and she left there after some tragedy struck when she was a teenager to move away and just go be in New York because she didn't want to be in a town where essentially they all turned their back on her when she needed them. Vashti's aunt owns a pretty popular bed and breakfast in the area. Her aunt has died and left the inn to Vashti, so she ends up having to go back. In going back, she's kind of reintroduced to the people and new people who have moved there since she left, and saying that their attitudes aren't what they used to be, and she gets, like, for multiple reasons, kind of drawn back into this town that she swore she would never live in again, as well as being drawn into this kind of tentative romance with the new sheriff who moved there a couple years ago with his teenage daughter. Now, this story just was, it started a little slow for me, I think, in the beginning, but even though the pace was slow in the beginning, like the facts that were delivered kind of started pulling you into the mystery, and you started going, ooh, I bet that's what this is. I bet she's really his kid. I bet that's this and this is this. And you start kind of, it's like a soap opera. You're like, I bet you so-and-so come back from the dead, bitch, watch. If if you've ever watched soap operas and you had that thought. It's kind of like that kind of a feel. So it's thoroughly enjoyable if you like those kind of dramatics where they're a little predictable but in a fun way. So I had a lot of fun reading this story. And that's really all I can say about it without giving away all the shit that made it enjoyable, because as you get to it, you like, yep, that's so-and-so, I bet. Nah, bitch, that was really his kid and this motherfucker ain't really dead, bitch, watch. I mean, nobody died or pretended to be dead or came back from the dead or faked their own death or any of that shit, but it was just that kind of fun when I was reading it. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars, and it will come out October 30th. That is the last book. So I finished 5 books. The only challenge I did not meet was to read a dark, spooky, or taboo contemporary. That's the only one I didn't meet. So, oh, that also fulfilled my read a contemporary with orange on the cover because of a little smidge of orange, like right up on the bottom left under that truck. I'm calling it. I'm taking it. Whatever. Now, usually I could have finished like 7 or 8-ish contemporaries, if not more, in this time, especially because Pretty Face was shorter, on the shorter side, but it really was just that I kept getting like duds, and then I just got disappointed, and then I would go pick up a fantasy book. So I finished 2 fantasy books in this time as well, but I mean, shit happens. But yeah, those are the books I finished for Contemporaryathon. It was a lot of fun. Hopefully next time I participate, I pick less crappy books. It would have been really, really fun to have read the Kiss Culture for this, but I read it for Smutathon, so I need to quit trying to bring that book up in every contemporary themed readathon, but I can't wait to do this one again. It was a lot more fun than I anticipated, even though I read a bunch of duds. Not a bunch, 2, but it was a fucking lot. So yeah, that is it for this wrap up, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to see me rant about more fuckery that I read, or gush about really good books that I read, or just tell you about books that were kind of meh while drinking a fuck ton of wine, because we do that around here. We have fun doing it. So, don't forget to hit those buttons and the freaking bell button, because YouTube keeps changing their stuff, and now you may not even see my videos even though you subscribe if you don't hit the bell button, because they just, I don't know, they want people to use the bell button. I don't know fucking what. But the people I've been subscribed to since I started YouTube now, if I have not hit that bell button, I don't even see that they post new videos in my timeline. It's not any longer just so you get an alert. I no longer even see them in my timeline. I have to go search them out and see if they uploaded, and then hit the bell button. So now they start to pop back up in my timeline. It's fucking ridiculous. But at any rate, oh Lord, that made my throat dry. That is it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.